YouTube, what's up going on? We're going to go over today the dev update from August 28th. I did miss a lot of this live, so I'm really excited for this. We're going to get some actual authentic reaction to this and commentary and whatnot, and let's see what chat has to talk about too. We'll chit-chat about things as we go, but yeah, let's get right into it, you guys.
Optimization.
Really excited for this one.
Initial implementation of the hybrid combat, but just wanted to give you an idea of what's going to be experienced in Alpha 1 and how we'll iterate from there. So yeah.
Oh, it's going to be good.
Taking feedback, we'll always take feedback and assess things as we.
I'm excited. I got to see a little bit of the combat.
Video over. We'll see you
last
in about
time.
10 minutes.
But this 10-minute video is the big part that we want to watch here.
Welcome to another video in Ashes of Creation. I'm going to be talking a little bit
Okay,
about
good.
the hybrid combat system that's currently kind of first pass, early iteration of
we'll have to pay attention
the action
and see if we get anything on these skills.
Along with the tab
cross-reference with what's on the wiki right now.
Type component. So before we kind of take a look at this stuff, I just want to
reiterate
that this is the early look at Alpha 1.
And there is shift
and
keybinds.
A lot of the systems are very first pass, and it's up to the testers that we're going to have present in the different phases of Alpha and Beta, kind of helping us to fine-tune and iterate upon
Man, I'm so glad the new 3070 graphics cards are so cheap.
One of the most important things
it's going to make for a definite upgrade.
A lot of the art
before this comes out. They do have the mini map up there too. A lot of people have been talking about mini maps.
But a lot of the art is
potentially not being a thing in this.
Especially the UI. So keep that in mind. A lot of this UI is placeholder and will be further fleshed out as we get more along in the project.
I like that.
Talking a little bit about the hybrid combat system. Let's take a look at the skill.
I like this skill tree.
So this is where players allocate.
Of course, he's got everything maxed out.
Their different either active skills, their passive abilities, which can augment their usage of weapons and armors, and their health regeneration and passive stats and stuff like that. On the weapon side of things, that's where you will spec into certain types of procs based off of weapon groupings. So. We've talked a little bit about this in the past. If you have a dagger, daggers might have a chance to proc a bleed on your weapon attack, and that would synergize with an active skills ability, like let's say backstab, that does additional damage if the target is under a bleed effect. Now, we've said in the past that players will be able to allocate points into their active skills.
That'll be neat to be able to do that, to spec into your own weapon type, especially as a fighter.
Tab targeting. As an example, you can kind of see
there you go.
These skills can have additional points allocated to them to unlock further features. Some of them can be tabbed to start and become action if you allocate additional skill points. And this is one of the ways that we kind of balance the skills between
we might have to do a future video looking at some of the tank skills here.
Skill points in order to unlock.
Steven typically seems to be playing a tank. For sure, bulwark is a tank skill.
Features of that skill, and then it becomes a tab or an action type skill.
And you can see all the different ranks and what increases at the ranks as well. At least the skills you hovered over there.
Monsters.
But I really like that passives are their own separate skill tree. Yes, the active skill tree looks really small there, but the passive skill tree is its own separate thing. Typically, in most games, those are combined.
One of the things I'm going to
and I'm sure we all won't have super GM powers to get all of the skills maxed out.
Weapon attack. So you see on the queue down here, we have it's a Silver Guardian weapon. That's cool. Okay, so this is a rare, like level 10 weapon. It's not too bad, but these guys I think are low. They're like level 1. As you can see, I'm currently in the tab mode, essentially. Oh, look at the poor little thing fly. It's going to be sad if I have to kill it. Wow, he's really moving.
He can't fly. His wings are too small. You're too fat.
I can click
Felbeak.
target. I can tab target if I want to. So tab between that. So this is the traditional kind of tab targeting. I can, my camera movement is not tied to my cursor. I can kind of look around and do kind of stuff like that.
Which is nice.
I can look at my cool silver sword. Yeah. But players can very easily transition between tab targeting and action combat. By pressing Z, I now tie my cursor movement to my camera.
I had to look where that was on my
additionally,
keyboard.
a reticle
Just to
has
be
spawned.
sure.
Now, like I said previously,
But that'll be a really
UI here
easy thing to hit.
relatively
Even
rudimentary,
mid-combat,
and
you could
very
change.
early. But essentially, as I hover over targets with this reticle, I will get indicators through color and highlights on the reticle that will tell me essentially either distance to the target, whether or not
That's
a skill
cool.
that I might have prepped.
Obviously,
hit the
that's
target
not
from
a
this
thing
distance.
yet.
I can left click and tab target a target currently. Now we'll change that to be right click. Right now it's left click, but it should be right click. And additionally, I can, when targeting an enemy this way, I can utilize my tab targeting skills. So I'll try to hook this dude. Come on over, little buddy.
Get over
And
here!
my left click will attack. And I can use my kind of movements here. Another important thing to note, let's see if we can get a few of these guys, is that all weapons have a forward cone to some degree. Based on the weapon type, it'll change. Pole arms, for example, will have a much wider arc and much further out.
There's a gatherable
daggers
there.
will have a
I
more
see it too.
fine-tuned arc, so you have to be more precise in that regard. So if I pull this sword, if I pull a few of these macaws, let's see.
This is cool.
A few of them.
This is about where I had to
We
stop
have a
watching
few
almost last
macaws
time.
here, little buddies. I feel
Let's check this
horrible.
out.
But you'll see as I attack, I'm hitting multiple numbers of these opponents.
That is
And
so
that's
cool.
important because all weapons, regardless of if you're in reticle mode or tab targeting mode, you will be able to have a action-based type weapon attack, not active skill, but weapon attack.
That is so cool. Like it actually does
So,
damage
That's an important
where it
note.
swings.
Weapons each have their own unique and individual forward arcs and distance that they deal damage to a target.
That is awesome. Yo, Angry Nick, what's going on, dude? What beta is it up to? It's not in beta yet. This is Alpha 1 preview. We're going into Alpha 1 very shortly, probably within the next couple months here. We'll be going into Alpha 1, but that is what the where we're at right now. Beta, we don't have a date. We don't have a timeline for yet. We're hoping Alpha 2 is... I'm hoping Alpha 2 is by spring or so next year. Beta will obviously be after that at some point. So we'll have to wait and see. Still a ways out. Still a ways out for sure.
Over here. And let me grab this little plant.
Sure. Run past all the other gatherables, but get this one just because.
Should be some stuff here. Now, obviously, as I've said in the past, action, combat, and tab are two very different tempos. And, you know, if we had to go through and rework kind of combat not to be hybrid, I would lean more in favor of tab targeting with high mobility and a lot of template type attacks to kind of represent that more skill-oriented combat. But I think that through testing in alpha and beta, but especially alphas, that we will be able to fine-tune this so that it sits comfortably between the two different types of speeds, essentially.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, we got some mushrooms. Kill these mushrooms.
There's going to have to be a lot tested in regards to the combat. Combat is the most important part of this game. This game will be made or broken on combat.
About, kind of these action
And they
combats is the
understand
ability to
that.
kind of dodge. And kind of moving out of the way of certain skill shots. And
I like that.
I don't think we want to do that one. Yeah, that's not.
You don't just stand there and take whatever, and your only sort of way of evading manually is line of sighting. You can actually, like, get out of its way. Get out of the striking range.
yeah, so it's going to be interesting to see players. Oh, here we go. It's going to be interesting to see essentially players kind of testing out this hybrid combat, seeing how it feels, getting an idea for essentially the balancing that's going to be required in hosting different types of CC effects across the different targeting methods, and iterating on this. And you guys are going to be a part of that every step of the way, giving great feedback, as all of you do normally, which we appreciate on our Discord.
Yo, Nabo, what's going on, dude?
It's always great to get kind of player feedback. Go bad for this crab.
Whoa.
You know, Bacon made this crab.
So I don't see any sort of like.
Yeah.
Oh no, there you go. He used skill number 9
so,
there.
I hope you guys
it's on
enjoyed
cooldown.
Taking a look at the hybrid combat system. And feel free to leave some.
So the UI does have like a cooldown incorporated into it now.
Here momentarily. Later.
All right. So with that, I feel like there's a lot of questions in chat that we've already answered quite a bit of in regards to blocking. Are there going to be more abilities than just the abilities that obviously they saw there?
It's pre-alpha.
So I want to kind of like touch base on some of those other things that you might have seen in chat. But again, I think a lot of those questions we've answered before, and this is early implementation again. So keep that in mind, everybody.
I think, you know, one of the most important things is you guys are seeing that, you know, we obviously the team loves to see the excitement, the you know, the feedback about how great the game looks and all that kind of stuff. That's very important to us.
So I pose the question to you guys: what do you guys think about the action targeting versus or active combat versus tab targeting combat? I like that you're going to be able to easily, in the middle of battle, toggle between the two. I think that's really cool, between having a reticle and not having a reticle. I think that's awesome. We'll have to see how that fits in with different rotations, especially in the heat of the moment, where you have to be a little more agile and think on your feet, and you might not be able to just kind of stand while somebody else is tanking for you. You know, like especially range classes like mages and rangers, how are they going to fare in this environment, in this landscape, with the good mix? I can see the mage being very susceptible. It'll be a challenge, and he'll be susceptible to a lot of oncoming combat and a lot of oncoming attacks, I feel, without a tab targeting or auto targeting type abilities or auto tracking abilities, right? Like if their cast just goes wherever they're pointing at the time, I can see them having a lot of troubles with that, between having a cast time and a travel time based over distance. I think that's going to be a bit of a challenge, but having the reticle up for the ranged classes, I think is going to be, especially the ranger, I think is going to be awesome. It's going to allow for some more precision targeting, and especially if they, like Stephen was talking about, having templates for a lot of things. So templates would be like a symbol on the ground to do like an AoE ability in that area, or a cone of damage or something like that, so that you could kind of get a rough idea of the effect that you're gonna put down. Melee classes, I feel like the reticle based targeting and combat is going to be less of a thing. I don't fully understand the difference myself, and maybe we just need clarification on that. Maybe I'm missing something here. So if you guys in chat or watching the video, let me know in the comments below what you think of this and what we might be missing there. But yeah, I, like Nav is still saying here, I don't see a big difference between the two types, other than your ability to acquire targets by either clicking on them or tabbing around. Let's continue.
But really what the purpose is of, you know, going into these alpha phases is going to be is getting data, getting logs, getting
a lot of this is still going to be refined and changed,
players.
though.
And
like
there's a long way to go in making combat what it needs to be. I've said this in the past. The design team knows this. We all know this. Combat is the most tactile system in the game.
Yep.
It's the thing you will experience most often. And outside of the systems and mechanics that are going to be present for kind of the overarching,
and regardless of the type of character that you want to play in the game, combat is going to make, if it sucks, even if all you want to do is be a trader, the leveling process would be such a nightmare that you probably wouldn't pursue it. You probably wouldn't see it through. You would put the game down. In most scenarios, yeah, there might be some determined people that are like, you know what, once I hit max level, I'm never going to do combat stuff again. I'm just going to be a trader or a pusher of religion or whatever. But, even if you're going to be a crafter or something, you're still going to have to acquire recipes, which you might, in order to get the good recipes, you're going to have to do dungeons. You're going to have to do raid events and PvP, things like that. So combat is always going to be a part of the game. It's always going to be an intricate part of the game. And if it doesn't feel good, then it doesn't matter how beautiful everything else is. That one big shining wound will be there, and it'll kill the game, unfortunately. So, but they recognize that, they understand that. So I have confidence and faith that the team at Intrepid will make the combat in this game really, really good. I don't know how long it's going to take. I'm not going to be going into Alpha 2 even expecting that combat is going to be fleshed out and amazing. I wouldn't even expect that in the betas fully. It should be better each step of the way. But until the game officially launches, I don't think it's ever going to be in a place where they're like, okay, we're pretty happy with this. We'll have to wait and see, but that's my take.
Combat needs to feel responsive. It needs to not feel floaty. It needs to feel mobile. It needs to be fluid. It needs to give a feeling of satisfaction. The audio components, the effects components, the animations themselves, the types of skills, and those types of things. All of those are really kind of our objective in fine-tuning the approach for our combat in Ashes of Creation. And I just want to make sure that you guys are aware, as we go through these alphas, it's going to be rapidly changing. There might be several prototypes we
I didn't even need to pause and talk.
Play with.
You just said everything I said.
That's the best way I think that we.
I'd rather hear it from him than me.
Team can yield a successful system in combat is that type of iteration, that type of player involvement. Jeff.
Yeah, just getting that feedback from the players immediately. Like, that's one of the reasons why we've chosen to kind of expose ourselves this way rather than kind of waiting until we're about to launch to kind of let everybody know what we're planning on doing, right? Like, these are systems that combat
Glad you got home safe,
where
sir.
Feel and flow is so important to how the game feels.
Yo, Laura, what's going on, dude?
And getting that feedback from you guys as you're playing it, early on before we've really committed so far that we can't change it easily. Is super important. So that's again like why we try to give you guys the inside baseball and everything that's going on with our studio, so that we can make those decisions and change direction as rapidly as we need to.
Yes.
Yeah. And that is like that right there. That mentality is what has sold me on this game, on like being convinced that it is going to be amazing, because they understand the need to bring people in to test on a larger scale the mechanics of the game so that they can refine them and develop them as they go, so they can collect data as they go. Yo, Supernova, what's going on, dude? How you doing? So I'm really, really excited, because having that ability to get in and provide feedback on the core mechanics of the game and how things function early on, that's what alpha is really all about. That's really even what beta is about, just with a little bit more polish on it, right? I hope that they don't include too much spoilers in terms of lore and storyline in the alphas and betas. I know that can be a challenge to do, but mechanically, Yeah, they can test a lot of the legendary items and stuff themselves, right? I don't think that's something they need to open up into alphas and betas so much, but like combat mechanics, siege mechanics, the mayoral system, and just let people just go in and do this stuff, see how it's going to work. Caravans and things like that is going to be really, really key.
My lawnmower person just got here, so people might be hearing my gardener going off.
Did you call him your lawnmower person?
I don't know. Like, I don't know. The gardener.
That is so great.
I just heard it go up, and I'm like, oh no, the lawnmower is going off.
It's like a transformer.
Yeah, it does. It sounds. I don't know.
So good.
But there were some questions regarding add-ons. Obviously, we've already talked about that. We're not going to allow add-ons. We've talked about blocking before. The other one that I saw consistently was in regards to skills and abilities and how many people will have access to.
Yeah, so the goal is not to overwhelm people with hotbars, right? And to make sure that we're making good decisions.
Important,
about,
very important.
How many buttons you actually need to press to accomplish a thing.
I don't want to have 50 fucking things on my screen.
Based game, so how many buttons you are using kind of depends on you. You're going to be choosing between passives and active skills, and how you feel your hotbar is kind of up to you. So
one of the things we've said in the past, is the things that I've disliked, at least personally, about MMOs that I've played before is that, as you go through different phases of leveling, you have relevant skills, and then eventually sometimes you end up with like a skill menu where you have half of them available, but none of them are relevant at your end game or higher level stages. We're trying to mitigate that as much as possible by making active skills capable of receiving additional skill point allocations and unlocking additional features, so that from a player agency standpoint, it's going to be up to you whether or not you want to be more diverse but less depth, right? Wider and not taller in some of these
like a dwarf
choices, or if you want to be very, very tall. That's going to be something that is up to the player in that regard. There will be multiple hotbars that you obviously have available because you're going to have consumables, you're going to have, active skills and whatnot. But the
all
number
my
of
mounts.
active skills,
I'm just kidding.
all your mounts, exactly. But the number of active skills are not going to try to overwhelm necessarily the character and be kind of, irrelevant, especially at certain stages.
And I know it seems like most people are happy about the no add-ons,
That's
but
awesome.
in regards to UI elements and things like that, we're really trying to make them be, you can move them around, you can adjust them and things like that. So we'll try to, we want to give you those tools and make them be part of the system. And if you have, features that you'd like in the future, obviously like
That's
those
cool.
things will take time.
That's
but,
really important. Really, really important to have a
managers
very
are kind of taking in that
customizable
feedback.
UI.
We'll toss those over to the
if you're
design
not going to
team,
have
and they'll
add-ons.
take into account what things
And
they
I
want to
like
add to
that
the milestones
approach.
as we progress.
Prefer
so keeping
that
that in
approach.
mind, we're definitely going to try our best to make sure that it's very smooth for all of you.
From a UI customization standpoint, regardless of whether or not we open APIs or no add-ons, that kind of we had a stance against that. But the UI implementation will be highly customizable, whether it be from resizing, a movement, a recoloring, different types of actual UI flavors that will be presented and offered to players as well. We want to have a very, very robust UI system, so we know that that's something.
I hope it's not just a bunch of preset
oriented
options,
kind of preferences,
but that it's like more customizable.
Yeah. All right. Do you want to move on to the next video, which is going to talk about?
I don't feel like they need add-ons, otherwise the flood of lettuce.
I do want to preface before we go
absolutely,
to this video
Laura, I agree 100%.
Obviously, we used some GM hacks. You wouldn't be able to run around like we were.
Sorry, Sargard, I'm not trying to ignore you, but I'm recording a video for this, so.
Yes, and also I'd like to preface that
just
the castle
keeping it on topic for now
is really intended for what systems will be able to have online by Alpha 1 for certain Castle Siege testing.
Small.
We did. Yeah, it's very small. So it's like maybe 1/4 of the size of an actual castle at launch.
Which is fair, considering you only have such a small amount of people testing by comparison.
And multiple portcullises and gates and stuff like that. We have shown in the past a little bit of the destruction physics of castles, so you won't see that in this video. We're just kind of taking you around and talking a little bit about the castle system for especially those of you who are new and might not have received a lot of information about castle sieges. That's kind of what this video goes over a little bit.
Right, switching over.
There you go. That's fixed. All right, here we go with castle
Hello,
sieges.
everybody. Welcome to another video. We are recording here not live. This is pre-recorded.
Look at the mounts, man. They're so
Thursday,
cool. And the
August
turtle one at the end of this video. Oh, man.
PM Pacific Standard Time. I am joined by Tiny Toast, the tiniest of toasts currently. And also by Leperzo, not Leperza, Margaret Crow.
So before they get into this, I have a big question. I don't know if you guys in chat or if any of you guys in the comments will know. Have they talked about skill resets yet? To reset your skill points? How many skill points you're going to have? We saw the 3 different trees earlier of passive skills, active skills, and weapon skills. Are we just going to earn, like, say, 100 points over our 50 levels, and then we get to divvy them up between the 3 trees however we please? Or are we going to get, like, 30 points per tree? I'm really curious on that. Also, are we going to... My early understanding was that we would have to spend our skill points to even acquire an active skill. Not just to level it up, but to get it at level 1, you spend a skill point. Then you can spend further 2 more skill points or 1 to take it up to level 2 or even level 3 to get the added bonuses for that skill. So I'm curious how exactly that's going to work. I don't know if they've fully settled on a system yet, or if it's been earlier confirmed. But that's what I've kind of heard and what I've been operating on. But what he was just mentioning here, it sounds like you're going to get all of your base skills. Maybe you earn them as you level, kind of thing. And then as you're leveling and you getting your skill points, you can choose where to allocate them to power up certain abilities, to more fit your play style and what you're going to be aiming for in the long run. But obviously, especially in an early launch of a game, there's going to be a lot of testing to be going on. There's going to be a lot of theory crafting, trying different builds. Be like, hey, on paper, this sounds really good. We go put it into practice, and it's actually not so great. I want to tweak this. Are we going to have the ability to reset skill points like that? And what kind of cost, what kind of investment or quest line are we going to have to do that? We already know that we'll be able to change our secondary augment class through no easy means, which is great. And the primary archetype that we choose is set in stone. Like, you don't like it, make a new character kind of thing. But I hope there's some means of resetting our skill points so that we can reallocate them. Especially too, you might have no doubt you will have a completely different loadout for PvP than you would for PvE. Then you might even for high level raiding, you might have a very specific thing. So we'll have to wait and see what options are available there. Maybe we'll be allowed to hold 2 specs and switch between them at a small cost, but easily, rather than having to go and do things just to make that's a quality of life thing. That's a player convenience thing for sure. And probably won't be something overly considered right at launch. I expect that might be something that happens later in the game. We'll have to see. What are your thoughts?
I changed my character, and my other character's name is Luperza, so here we are.
Holy, look at the nose on that Pinocchio mount.
Kind of showcase a little bit of the castle implementation. We're just going to take you over near the castle and talk
on a mount that looks like a Jesus lizard now.
You are still on
ones that run on water.
But we are hoping to get castles online.
Oh, that would be great.
In Alpha 1.
That would be great.
Run around and show off the castle.
I love those things, dude. They are hilarious.
NPCs, because no players have taken it. And yeah, want to head over there?
Yeah, let's do it.
Let's do it.
Yee.
Just watch out for the mushrooms. There's a few of them on the way.
Oh, are there some mushrooms?
Yeah.
That's unfortunate. Can we cook them? Capture them?
Saute them?
That'd be awesome.
Ooh. We had stuffed mushrooms last night. I put it in the food channel.
Oh yeah, I saw that. That looked really good.
It was pretty yummy. I like how you're on
Will
that
players
skill
be
runner.
able to
floating skill points
create
that you can
stuffed
reallocate on
mushrooms?
command to do
The
things
scout
like swap
runners
between PV and PV.
cracks
That
me
would be
up.
nice.
Well, the Mount Huron too is really funny.
That would be nice.
Or the,
Yours looks
Desert
so
mount.
majestic with its long legs, like a gazelle.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Like a
Meanwhile,
gazelle.
me.
I feel like, yeah, something like 10%, right? Like if you get 100 skill points overall and you can swap 10 around, that's like maxing out 5 different skills, let's say, going back and forth. That should be pretty advantageous. That might not be necessarily enough for somebody who really wants to min-max their build towards one type of content or the other, but that should be enough just for the casual to go back and forth between things. And I think that's the more important thing. If you're wanting to do more, then it's going to require more investment to change your skills, you know? Are there areas that are PvP only? How do you mean by PvP only? There's like outside of your castle siege, node siege, caravan siege, which are kind of designated PvP that you either pre-register for or you declare an attack on. In the caravan's case, in real time. But there will be arena. There'll be I think they've proposed 1v1, 3v3, and 5v5 arena with the possibility of like a 20-man free-for-all arena. And there will be ladders and ranking and stuff like that involved with it as well. So it will become a very competitive thing for people, and I could, depending on how popular and how good the combat is, I could definitely see it even potentially becoming an esport type thing if this game gets big enough. They've also talked about the ability to watch those matches. Like we'd be able to go in and just watch a match as a spectator. That would be really cool, and I would love to do content on that, to be honest, to just watch other people's arena matches, call them live like a caster or whatever, and I think that would be a lot of fun. It would be really cool. But yeah, that will be a thing, and like for anybody that's going to do that half seriously, you're going to have a very PvP focused build. Just like anybody doing high level raid content is going to have a very raid focused build. You know, anybody that does just more kind of dungeon farming for things would probably have a more focused build for that. Or maybe a little bit more hybrid, someone that does casual arenas or PvP. In terms of like a 15 versus 15 battleground or anything like that, I don't think that they have any plans for that at this time, possibly in the future. I hope so, because I love that type of content to have, like, well, I guess in this game it would be more like a 16 versus 16 or even a 24 versus 24 type thing where it's like a capture the flag or a king of the hill or a domination type game mode that has a clear objectives to it rather than just like an arena team deathmatch thing. And you work as a larger team. That's a little bit more casual than arena competition, but it can still be very competitive for some people if they want it to be. I would love to see that. I would love to see that come into the game, but I don't think that's planned. I think Rogue might be the class I want to do. The whole bleeding effect and multiplier sounded fun. Absolutely. And with secondary class augments, a lot of things like that are going to be interesting to see how they all play out as well, because you could potentially add those types of bleeds to other classes if Rogue is your secondary archetype. So we know nothing about skill augments from secondary archetypes yet. Absolutely nothing. It is all theory crafting at this point, and it is a lot of fun because people's minds are going all over the place, and there is a lot of really cool stuff that the community is coming up with. I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of the stuff they're just sitting back waiting for us to throw out some good ideas, and then they'll just cherry pick some of those good ideas and put them into the game, you know? Why not? Why not? A good idea is a good idea. It doesn't matter where it comes from, right?
Your legs are so funny.
So up here you can see one of the castles, probably those of you guys who participated in the Apocalypse testing, recognize this castle in particular. This is a bacon constructed castle. This is a little bit smaller than actually the size of the castles and how they'll actually be in the game at launch. But this kind of will be more facilitating smaller battles, I think, in Alpha 1. But initially, as probably most of you are aware, before players do actually take castles, they will be owned by monsters. So this one is currently owned by monsters. And basically how it's going to work is guilds will be capable of signing up to attack these castles. And, we've kind of talked a little bit about this in the past, but the guild that signs up to attack, multiple guilds may do so. They're going to initially be fighting these monsters and killing a raid boss that'll be kind of in the center of the castle. And what we're thinking right now is that in order to initially take the castle from the NPC control, rather than using the normal sealing mechanic that's cast on the center relic, instead the raid boss will be essentially killed by the number of players out there, and the highest contributing damage to the raid boss for the initial capture of the castle will be the determining factor for the guild. We're going to test this, obviously. We have a couple of other ideas as well. The whole purpose of Alpha and the betas is to test these ideas and see how they play out. Now, there's a lot of stuff outside of just killing, the raid boss that's important to take a castle. There are objectives in the interior of the castle, specific waypoints that you want to capture, and this will aid kind of in progressing to the raid boss eventually. But let's dismount and see if we can head in. I know we're only 3.
No release date yet.
I believe in us.
Yeah,
we're still waiting to go into Alpha 1 probably within the next couple months here.
Yeah, I think the 3 of us.
This is Alpha 1 preview footage right now that they just recorded.
Tiny Toast and the
look at the volcano in the background.
Staff of Luperzo. We could potentially do this. Let's see.
I mean, you can see your reflection in my armor.
So, I'm curious what you guys think about the idea that you could have a guild that comes up to the castle. Okay, they register to attack it or whatever has to happen for the first time when it's occupied by monsters, possibly one of the gods. We don't know yet. That is a theory that a few people, including myself, have had, even though I don't know a ton about the lore, I'll be honest. But one of the guilds could come in and clear a whole bunch of the objectives, a whole bunch of the trash monsters, get into the boss and start damaging the boss, or just about get to the boss and have another guild come running past them and tag the boss first. And potentially take that out from underneath them. That now the guild that was second to the boss now has the option. Okay, do we engage this other one in PvP and try to wipe them? Do we engage the boss and just simply try to do more damage and steal the win essentially? There are scenarios and ways to try to overtake that. I can very much see if two strong guilds come in, they could just agree that both of us are just going to hit this thing with everything we've got. May the one with the most damage win, right? And they could essentially zerg the boss down. The other aspect is the guilds could completely butt heads, and one comes in and just starts PvPing and tries to wipe the other guild, and then they either take over the boss fight or they also die because they're going to be hurt and hindered from PvPing, and the boss mechanics are going to wipe them if they're not paying really good attention to things. So I'm really curious what you guys think of this system, or a thought that I had in hearing this was that every guild, like maybe the castle siege is instanced, at least for the first time when it's full of monsters, so that each guild has to do it. And then once a guild starts, Okay, now anybody else that comes in is kind of basically fighting the clock, right? It's a race against time to who can clear it all first. And the first group to clear all of the content on their own obtains the castle. It takes the PvP and potential conflict that way out of the equation. I can very much see that in a PvP scenario, which is most likely going to be the case, that it'll just become a battle of player time. Which guild has the most players that can hang around the longest to keep battling each other out in the hopes that a third or fourth wheel doesn't come along and really muddle the works. Eventually people are, going to have to go to bed. They're going to have to go to work. They're going to have to take care of their kids and their families. People are going to have to do things and get up and leave. And you're not just going to go running in like, okay, I died, I respawned, I go running back blind. If half your guild wipes, you're probably going to wait, regroup, and then go back in strong. By that time, the boss might already be dead. So it's going to be interesting to see how a lot of this castle siege plays out, especially for the first go around. Once a guild has occupied the castle and then a more formal siege is declared, I'm curious to see how exactly that's going to play out. But then you have a guild to defend as well. So we'll have to wait and see, you guys, what it's going to be like. But I'm curious to know, what are your thoughts on this design idea? I call it an idea for now rather than a decision, because like Steven said, these are things that are going to get tested during alpha and beta to see how viable they will be for implementation, and if they will stay in the game or get modified or just thrown out completely and redesigned. So I'm curious what you guys think. Let me know down below.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, I love that
Pretty
armor.
majestic.
I like the little plume on top, actually. Let me take a look at that. Yeah, that's pretty cool. It's like waving in the wind, though. Like the physics is a little messed up in the waiting.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool. All right, let's head in.
That's where
here.
all your ideas come from.
Yeah. So you can see there kind of interior. Like I said, this is smaller than what would normally be the castle size, but the relic is kind of exposed there. The raid boss isn't present at the moment. These guys are...
Oh, they're low level. 8+.
They are elite mobs. So normally you would have a full party.
I think the plus means elite.
That would be fighting
and
these
8
dudes.
might mean the level.
Whoops.
Yeah, these guys are strong.
Strong. You're hardly taking
We are
any
cheating a little bit,
damage.
by the way, or
They're
at
just
least I'm
taking a lot of
cheating. You can
hits.
see the other party members have a few hundred hit points.
Wow. Look at the spell effects on that cast.
I'll give you some mana.
Look at those things. Oh, dude. That is so cool.
Nice. Did you give me mana?
Mm-hmm.
Now I give you mana.
Oh, that is so cool.
The mana friendship.
I love the skill animations. I know they're still early, too. But I love the skill animations, and don't pay attention like where the beam went through the wall and stuff, right? Like obviously this is pre-alpha, or even just alpha 1. Like right those types of things are gonna happen.
Get 2 mages in here.
I wouldn't pay too much attention to it.
Oh no.
But yeah, if they had a full party of 8, these fights would be going so much faster, right?
It's trying to kill us.
Oh, I have a lot of hit points. You guys. Let's see. Oh no. Oh god.
Someone's on my butt.
Oh. Some little flowers.
The objective should count towards the acquisition of the castle. I agree. Oh, no, it should give you a certain percentage of advantage when fighting the boss. So like right now, one of the things they've talked about in terms of like kill stealing and tagging a monster, like this is a big thing because a lot of the dungeons, world bosses, and all that stuff is open world. It's not instanced. Most of the dungeons are that way. So the ability for one group to come along and you can't just go in and tag a whole bunch of things and then slowly kill them down or die and maintain exclusive looting rights to those monsters. Just because you tag it, it gives you an advantage where instead of having to do more than 50% damage, you just have to do more than 40% damage because you got the first tag. keeping that mechanic in mind, if they were to do that with the siege raid bosses, but have, if you've got, 10 other objectives to do in the process of sieging the castle, each of those things could give you a certain extra percentage of leeway, if you will. So if you get the first tag on the boss still, instead of having to do 40% of the HP damage is minimum, maybe each one adds like an extra 5%. So if you get all 10, for example, well, that I don't know. It would have to be less than 5% if or less than 10 things. Let's say it's 3 things, right? So instead of doing 40%, you now have to do 25% of the damage because you did most of the other objectives in the castle or in the siege process. So you get a lot of advantage and leeway towards killing the boss. And until that boss resets, you maintain whatever damage you've done. So if you're fighting the boss and another guild comes in and they wipe you, essentially, they kill you along with the dragon. If they kill you and then continues to DPS on the dragon from wherever you left off. So let's say you've already done like 10% of the damage or 15% of the damage to the boss. They come in, they do a bunch while you're reviving and running back to the castle. Let's assume you revive close enough to the castle that you can actually get back to it. You come back to it, you group up, you wipe them, and then you continue to do damage, and you get the additional, say, 15% damage that you need. And maybe you don't kill the boss yet. Maybe they come back, wipe you, and kill the boss themselves. Or maybe you do kill the boss before they get back. In any case, you hit your 25% threshold, or maybe a little bit more. So you essentially win the siege. In that scenario, if that guild doesn't know all the objectives that you've completed, and maybe there's optional objectives that you can do to give you extra leverage this way as well. If the guild doesn't know all the things that you've achieved, they might prefer to let that boss reset back to 100% HP and then fight the boss themselves and see if they can do more damage that way, because then it resets your damage on the boss as well. It'll be interesting to see.
Follow you.
The boss had spawned yet. Where's the...
Here I come.
Yeah, let's come with me. Another important thing to note, by the way, I think we need a full group for this stuff, but another important thing to note is, during the siege, these gates will be closed, the portcullises will be closed, all of the walls are destructible. You guys have seen some of the destruction.
I love that the walls are destructible. That's so cool.
Happens. But players will be able to come prepared with siege weaponry. They'll have trebuchets. They'll have the ladder things. What are those things called? I can't remember now. To towers, the siege towers that they can utilize. I'm just kind of running around out here.
We're trying to kill this thing.
Oh no, you guys are gonna die for sure. But yeah, we're aiming to have some of the basic castle functionality present for Alpha 1. Those of you guys who I don't know if we showed actually any of the castle siege testing in Apocalypse, but
He froze me.
That's a really, really cool ice freeze effect. That looked beautiful.
He's got some of the same moves I do.
That looked absolutely beautiful. Man, I love the skill effects in this game. I'm going to have to get that 3070 card, man. I swear.
Probably going to make them leash. It's a good thing I cheated and put my health up a little bit.
Yeah.
Like, guild rivalry in this game is going to be absolutely huge. It's going to be so big. You're going to see a lot of that.
Warhammer Online's PvP and Dark Age of Camelot, like, both of those were probably my favorite experiences.
Boys, almost got it. Almost got it.
For me,
there they go.
I think
a lot
this
of
may
experience in
actually
that
be
thing.
the first time where I'm participating in large-scale siege PvP personally, so I am super excited to jump in and test and try out all this stuff with you guys.
Ooh, that's kind of cool. You've
Or
never
it might
done
have
large-scale
been
sieges?
back in like,
Ooh,
if we're thinking of
there's so much space in his pack he can
uh,
scroll.
Ragnarok Online, I think had some sieges.
So I see some
That's probably
baggage
the
on the
last
back
time
of
I did.
Steven's mount
Just
here. I
kicking it
wonder if
back
that
old school.
also works
I'm gonna
as the
circle
mule.
around this thing.
Your mount? I
Um,
thought the
Ragnarok
mule was
Online,
going to
yeah,
be
that's pretty
separate
cool.
from your mount.
I also enjoyed Warhammer Online. That was a great game.
Yeah, I didn't care so much for the
Are
PvP
they not sieging the castle
content,
anymore?
but the PvP content I really liked, and I enjoyed it a
Oh,
lot.
they're going in a different entrance.
Yeah, I liked the arenas that they had in Warhammer Online.
Yeah.
That was a lot of fun to me.
And some of the way that their abilities worked and stuff like that. As a tank, I thought it was really cool how I could like take the damage for somebody else and stuff like that. It's really neat.
Yo, Gilly Cervantes,
Another
thank you for
important
the
thing to note
follow, my
about,
dude. Thank you. How you doing
Castles in
tonight?
Ashes
Welcome
is
to the
that,
Tilted Paradise.
They actually, no, we should be
Good to see you,
facing the
brother.
camera. There you go. Let's go like
Ooh, okay, there you go.
Poor sister.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Get
the
close,
internet. I shouldn't assume.
smile.
Yeah. Another thing to note about the castles is they do
Too close toast.
have
Too
a
close.
lot of trophies for the guilds that manage to take them and keep them.
Trophies. We all
As a matter
like
of fact,
trophies.
the benefits for holding a castle actually get greater the longer a guild holds on to its castle. So each cycle, which is a 30-day cycle before it gets sieged again, the benefits of the castle get stronger. They exert control and pressure over the region, one of the 5 main economic regions they exert control over. They can levy taxes against the nodes under them. They can establish essentially the quote-unquote king's presence or queen's presence within the node system that grants benefits to the citizens that are under its rule. And they can have special relationships established with the mayors as well to help participate in kind of building up the nodes that spawn around the castle, these castle-dedicated nodes. They're not tied
3
into
castle-dedicated
the
nodes,
structure
by
of
the way.
general world node structure, but they're kind of
For
dedicated
each
to
castle.
helping to build up the castle's defenses and the economic benefits that come along with owning the castle. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this little insight to one of the castles that is going to be present in Alpha 1, and we'll see you guys back on stream. Thanks.
Wow. That's really cool. I'm really looking forward to some epic castle sieges. Once a month, you guys. Once a month, we're going to get to do a castle siege against one of the castles. So it's probably pretty safe to assume that there's going to be a minimum of 5 kind of powerhouse guilds per server, since there's 5 castles that can be controlled. Now, whether or not where was I going to go with that thought? Whether or not 2 powerhouse guilds try to regularly compete for control of one castle, or if one just kind of moves on and goes to look for another available castle, that'll depend on the guild. But the fact that, you know, if a guild is able to successfully defend their castle, that it's going to grow in power, grow in strength, and be even harder to siege in the future as it exerts more power and more control, more dominance over the region. Also, actually, I'll wait because I came back to the stream around this time, so the whole castle siege I had missed previously. So that was all new to me to see that. I'm really excited. It sounds like it's going to be a lot of fun, and the fact that this is a much smaller version, there's going to be a lot of other things going on a castle siege. Yes, they are like 250 versus 250 battles, but it's not just 250 people facing 250 people in a field to whoever's last team standing is the winner kind of thing. That's not how it works. There's going to be a lot of objectives and quests, things that, you know, solo players are able to do. You can register to defend a castle even if you're not part of the guild. You can register to attack the castle even if you're not part of a big guild. You can just be part of that. So I'm really curious to see how this all pans out. I'm excited to see it on a large scale. The fact that walls and defensive structures, buildings are destructible. And that's for node sieges as well, by the way. Is super cool to me because you can create points of entry into the castle. It doesn't have to be funneled through one of the gates available. You can bring a ballista or a trebuchet and knock down some walls and create a door of your own for your team, your troops to go in and access the castle and maybe surprise some of the defenders from behind, maybe start to achieve some objectives from underneath them that might disable some of the castle's defenses. Maybe you can assault the armory and put a big hindrance on some of their resource regeneration or something like that. So really, really cool. And I'm really excited to see some of the tactics that come out. I know there's been a lot of talk lately. Simorga's been talking a lot in his stream about other games that have had siege mechanics. He did it on the podcast, the Pathfinders podcast this past week, I believe. Talked with his podcast about other games that have had siege mechanics and what people liked from those. Personally, I haven't really played any game with any sort of major siege mechanics, so I'm coming into this kind of unbiased, unexperienced, not really knowing exactly what to expect, other than feeding off of the crumbs that they've given us here. So I'm really excited for that. Let me know what you guys think down below in the comments on the Castle Siege system. What are you excited for? What other games have you played that have had sieges in them similar to this, even if they're on a slightly smaller scale? And how did that play out? How was that experience? I'm curious. It doesn't have to be an MMO necessarily, but MMO is obviously the most applicable reference. How much will repairs be if you win and destroy half the castle? Oh, they'll probably be a lot. I expect they will be quite a bit, but it's not just in terms of gold. It would be also resources. Now, the castle is what has ultimate control of taxes in the entire region, right? So a castle will influence approximately, I shouldn't say influence, but they will be zoned into about a fifth of the world, about 20% of the world. And nodes that fall within that castle's hard borders, so the borders do not move for castles, any nodes that go in there will ultimately have to pay a portion of taxes back to the castle. That rate is set by the king or queen, or I don't know if you can assign a treasurer. I know that there will be officers, so to speak. And when a castle is sieged and destroyed, then the guild that's taking over, the guild that's leaving, they get some of the gold from that I guess that's in the coffers or whatever is left over, and some of that, as well as some of the resources, are left for the new guild coming in. And I imagine that system is in place to deal with exactly what you're saying, Stargard, to help with the repairs and reconstruction early on, so that, within 30 days time, after a lot of work and dedication, your guild will have a fortified castle once again to try and defend. But essentially, when tax revenue comes in every month or every week or every day, I really don't know what the frequency will be. A portion of that will go to the castle itself and the region for upgrades and investing in various resources, whatever that might be. And a portion of that actually goes to the guild itself. So the guild, it essentially just goes to the guild so that they can use it to buy consumables for raids. They can use it to do whatever the heck they want to do with it, essentially. So you can see that, especially early on, if a guild is able to get a good foothold in a castle and defend it for a month, 2 months, 3 months, the longer they can hold that at first, they're going to grow in power so much exponentially faster than other people around them in that region. It's going to be crazy. And if they are an oppressive kind of tyrant ruling type guild, I can see a lot of people just up and be like, okay, You guys can play by yourselves, have fun. We'll go into other castles, other cities, other nodes, and be citizens there and play our game there. So there will definitely be a little level of politicking to it, but people will be pretty free and able to up and leave on their own. It's not going to be like the old days, like, oh, you're abandoning me, so I'm going to slit your throat, you're done, or you're going to hang now. Like, it's going to be interesting to see how people react to different types of guilds in power. We'll see.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks. Thank
you. Yo, might be a wizard. What's going on? It looks like my chat might have actually just cut out for the last few minutes there, you guys.
All right. So it seems like y'all liked that and enjoyed it, and you got a little toast cameo in there.
I just got a welcome to chat room message here.
I know there were a few comments and concerns in regards to obviously the difficulty of that, because as Steven said, you're going to have to like break down gates, you're going to have to like kind of progress and push.
Oh,
it's not
Naba.
going to be that easy. We're just kind of showing like
just to be clear, when we were running in there, so when the castle siege occurs, it'll be different than what you saw there. That's just kind of
that's no reason for my chat to like stop working. I missed a bunch of your guys' messages. But yo, what's going on, Wizard? How you doing, man? Good to see you, brother.
On the off siege time when it's not siege time. Then when siege time occurs, guilds will have a week period of time where they can kind of register and come and attack. And during the 2-hour-long siege, that's when everything changes. The portcullises go down, the gates go down. You'll need siege weaponry.
Yeah, I went back and I read the messages on the other side.
And then there'll be, if it's an unknown castle, it'll need to have a raid boss at the center that kind of gets fought for. Attackers can fight each other during that experience. It's going to be a contesting thing. Once the castle is owned by a guild,
you've known that for a long time.
Supporting castle nodes start to come online and spawn each week prior to the 4th week castle siege, and they'll have to form alliances. They'll have to get support. They'll have to get resources. They'll be able to allocate funds that have been collected through taxation in order to strengthen the defenses, as well as hiring additional NPC mercenaries, that type of thing. So there's a lot of systems that go into the castle sieges. Really, we were just kind of showing off the castle itself and kind of running around in the little monsters that are present there. So.
Yeah, and the AI is not finalized either.
It is, it's all kind of populated for the level ranges that we're going for right now, and only really populated for group content. These will actually be raid level stuff, so you're gonna need really.
This is gonna be end game stuff, even for the first castle sieges, right? It's gonna be a race.
And then also contest with other guilds that are also trying to do the same thing. So it's not exactly representative. It's a good approximation maybe, but
Lineage 2 is a huge inspiration for this game. I never played either of those though.
Something that might not have been
my MMO diversity is pretty minimal.
Each week leading up to the siege week, right? So it's a 4-week period of time that the castle is owned. Each week is a week that's dedicated to one of the 3 castle dedicated nodes. So around the castle there are 3 nodes. They represent week 1, 2, and 3, and then the 4th week is the siege against the castle. Those can only be elevated up to stage 3. We've discussed this, in the past, and there's definitely information out there on the community.
That's cool to know.
Wiki and other stuff. But what we haven't expressed is that on the tax collection side, castles do collect taxes from their region, which encompasses 1/5 of the world territory, and within those regions are nodes that spawn, right, naturally. And at the end of each week, there is a period of time on the weekend where NPC generated caravans from those nodes start moving towards one of the castle nodes. And during that period of time, it's incumbent on the owning guild and its allies, or even the citizens of the nodes that fall under its purview, to escort those caravans to the castle's dedicated one of 3 nodes. Those caravans carry the castle taxes. So the incentive to essentially attack those caravans as they move to build the castle dedicated nodes on the enemies of that guild are very high, not only because of the reward that you can reap in kind of sabotaging that tax collection, but also in destabilizing or reducing the defensive capability of the castle
That
itself.
is
because
huge. Oh, that is so cool.
To have strong.
Dude, you could. So like that Brinks security truck that drives around and picks up the cash from all the businesses and takes it back to the bank or wherever. Yeah, basically you can go and assault those and take their money. And the castle loses out on that revenue. They lose out on all those tax dollars, not for the guild, not for the castle. It really can be advantageous to destroy the castle's economy, the guild's economy, if you will, so that they can't provide or buy the necessary defenses that they need in the upcoming siege. So you have, and he did mention it, it's at the end of each week on the weekend. So obviously it'll probably be somewhat random over the course of the weekend when those caravans are moving around and the route they're going to take. I hope it is randomized and not just something that's super easily predictable. Be like, hey, all right, it's 1 p.m. on Saturday. That caravan is going to be right here. Nah, I don't think it'll be like that. Everything like that is very well randomized in the game that we've seen so far, so I expect this will be the same. But that is so cool, the ability to have that kind of leverage. And it'll be interesting to see. Some guilds will probably be like just sending out like 10 or 15 people to just walk with this caravan as a deterrence for trying to assault it. I can see some pretty epic caravan sieges and PvP battles going on during this time as well. I like that. I really, really like that.
Defenses. Now, citizens of nodes that fall under the purview of the castle may not participate in the attack of those caravans. They are automatically registered as the defenders.
Can you imagine?
Of those caravans.
That'd be great.
And that's important because certain benefits, it's a reciprocal relationship between the castle and its nodes. Essentially, there are benefits granted to citizens of the castle, and the longer that the castle remains in the hands of its incumbent guild, the stronger the benefits become overall. But at the same time, that represents a greater incentive to attack the castle because the rewards will get greater over time also.
Oh, so I wonder if that means the rewards will get greater for just in general for the castle. I don't know. You guys bring up a very good point. So chat's saying right now, for those of you guys watching the YouTube version of this, they're wondering if this is all going to be too much. Like just in general, the things that this game is incorporating, the systems and the depth that it's incorporating is going to be too much. It's going to need some really well organized people leading some of this stuff. And honestly, that is definitely a concern because they've put so much into this game. And like having these types of caravans that are going to be the NPC driven caravans that are going to be always moving throughout the world, like a lot of games have this thing where they get to kind of end game, you beat the final raid bosses, get them into a farm status just to acquire get everybody in your guild all geared out. But it's easy content. And after that, there's not a whole lot to do. You know, people will typically resort to PvP or just hanging out, trying to hit achievements or whatever other kind of rare things that they can do. But because there's going to be so many things happening in this world, constantly evolving, driving with the whole node system and caravans, NPC-driven caravans, there's always going to be content. There's always going to be things to do. Crafting is always going to be very relevant and is always going to be necessary from gathering to processing to the crafting of finished goods. So, yeah, there is a lot going on in this game. And I fear that if you don't have people stepping up to the plate, if you don't have the right people stepping up to the plate, and I don't mean right as in terms of a great leader that is going to come in and just turn the game into some amazing thing, but I mean people that are actually going to be present to fulfill the roles on a regular basis, whether they want to be a good player, an evil player, or just anybody in between is really irrelevant. But there needs to be somebody there who's attentive and actively doing it on a constant basis, or the wheel stops turning. That is my biggest concern with this game. Yes, there's a lot of active things going on in the world, but if the people aren't driving, nothing is happening. If the community stops, if the community slows down in any way, shape, or form, and this could be on a per server basis, this could be on a per region basis, that could actually have a very negative impact in the game. Is that you need an active and abundant population to really keep the thing going. Everybody is a cog in the machine, and if one cog stops, the whole, like, some parts of the machine might stop working, depending on the size of the cog that person is being, essentially, and how many other cogs they are interlacing with or interacting with. That is probably one of my biggest concerns about the game, to be honest. And the time commitment that this game is kind of demanding of a lot of the people to be in those positions is very, very large. You know, to be a mayor of a metropolis node, to be the king of a castle, you know, you've got to be present a lot. So I know a lot of people have been shitting on the fact that, you know, big streamers are going to be automatically like the mayors of all the scientific nodes because it's a popularity contest, or they're going to be the ones with massive followings from their, you know, like Asmon with 40,000 people in his channel or whatever is going to have a ton of, like, everybody on the server backing him. But you know what? He's going to be able to be there, to be present, to do the roles, to do the duties. Whether you like how he does it or not, whether it fits your playstyle or your personality or your beliefs is irrelevant. He's going to be there to do it. And that's what's important. That's what's going to be needed. But every castle and every server is going to need to have that presence. Not to say that you're going to be alone in your guild and running this. Obviously, you're going to have officers in your guild. They're going to fulfill a lot of things. But in the end, it's your account that has to do it, right? Anyways, let's
just to give you a little bit more information.
That's my tangent for this video.
Awesome. And I did notice some folks commenting like, Steven really loves zooming all the way out with his camera. You can totally zoom in with your camera.
It could be.
You don't have to have it zoomed out.
It could be if streamers run the economy.
MMO players, I know that.
And it will be a thing on some servers. Absolutely.
And where they live on that from a zoom standpoint, but I love.
It will absolutely be a thing on some servers.
And that's usually because when I played MMOs, you know, I used to have a large guild and we had large raids, and I always had to kind of like know what was going on all over the place. So,
yeah, I think for raids I always go max, but like for when I'm just running around and stuff, I kind of like give the cinematic zoom in, you know. But I noticed some comments in regards to that, so I just wanted to make a note of it.
Yeah, that's actually a conversation me and Steven have a lot, where hey Steven, is this camera distance okay? No.
Yeah.
More.
Must have.
I like the zoom out. I want to see
and there
things
was
too.
a question regarding like first person, like if you can zoom in and like see things first person. I'm assuming we'll allow that as well.
You could zoom in, but you will not have the traditional first person type animations where you see like your arms.
Your arms, yeah.
You know what I mean? So like, yeah, you could zoom all the way into your character and get that kind of camera perspective from the eyes, but you're not going to get any of the correlating typical first person animations with arms and
that's acceptable. It's a fantasy MMO in the end.
All right, I think
not a first person shooter. So that is fair.
And
that is a whole new level
of
animations that need to be looked at.
Screen situation for a moment. If y'all give me a moment for that.
Are we going to show the...
what do you mean with her? Like, you feel like she's unnecessary?
And have the audio.
Margaret has been absolutely huge with
That'll be during the character.
growing this community and getting the word out there, getting people involved and active on the forums, on the Discord, and providing feedback and ideas. She's been absolutely huge for that.
Here is, and I know that all of the cameras, their cameras are so tiny. Their cameras are actually better quality than that. It's just because I'm screen sharing with them. We're gonna find a better
it's pretty
solution
epic.
For our next stream,
that's a dwarf.
Promise.
That's dwarven architecture. I think denier architecture.
I'm just kidding. I just like trolling.
Is that a
So first and
castle
foremost,
or
we're going to talk a little bit about the Junior City Gate that you see here. And
Denier
there's also
City
a
Gate?
lot
So,
of
so this is
little
a stage
intricacies
6
I'm gonna show
node.
off in some other
Not
assets as well.
or sorry, stage 5. Not even a metropolis.
And this first one is kind of like giving you the feel of what that gate is going to look like. This isn't even the whole city itself. But I don't know if you guys want to talk a little bit about that, and then I can show as well the
So it looks like there's a
and
big
some of the,
canyon over here.
props as well. And how those
And a
integrate
bridge. I
with
think we've
nodes
seen
as they
this.
progress, like level 1 to all the way
Give me 1 second here, guys. I feel like we've seen this
to level
before.
6.
This one right here. Oh, okay, there we go. That might be this city right here. This is what it is. So that city that we were just looking at in the video with the walls is from right here. Can we? Yeah, let's zoom in a little bit more. There we go. So yeah, that's from right here, is where we're looking perspective wise from this. Right, you see the canyon, the grasslands. There's the bridge, all the guard towers here. Right there it is. There's the bridge. There's the grasslands. There's the canyon. Like, that is epic. So look at this. The size of it. This is a city. This is a stage 5 node. It could actually get bigger. Okay. It can go one size larger. I don't know if the footprint would really expand too much then, but you could imagine, like, in a node siege scenario, that this is going to obviously be a huge choke point, and you would have to try to come at it from the sides. You've got a mountain in behind it here. Appreciate my enthusiasm. I'm excited for this. Just like the scale of it, dude, is insane.
Telling you to put as much water in your mouth.
But that's a neat perspective from the same thing, just to give you kind of an idea of the scale.
Around in your mouth. It's weird. I don't know.
Is it like does he have like translucent lips or something?
Yeah, the Intrepid Studios is
No, I think
comprised of
when
a
he,
lot of people
laughs
from
and
a
stuff.
lot of different games and projects.
so
That's probably
this
harder to
is-
see because it's kind of blurry.
This is a concept piece showing kind of the architectural designs for the Junior Stage 5 city. This piece in particular is really focused on the outer walls. One important thing to note about the way
I never
that,
played the Daybreak
nodes
games. I'm not
essentially
too
get
familiar with
established,
that.
is we're now
Or I request,
utilizing
mind you.
a platform system as these nodes kind of get constructed in real time. And it's semi-procedural. Obviously, there's parameters that we set, and those parameters dictate the placement of specific buildings that adhere to the designs for both sieges, as well as the roads that exist and the location of specific services and/or merchants. But what that ensures is that every node will have a unique appearance. It will be distinct to itself. And even if it gets leveled up multiple times, there's an opportunity there where the node platform design gets changed.
Which is crazy because there's 103 nodes in the game.
This is great from an immersion standpoint, obviously, because you're not going to see cookie cutter type nodes.
To think that each one has its own variation of layout and whatnot.
City layouts and node designs. It's going to
Not
be
to
fresh
mention the
every
fact that the
time.
architecture is
And they're
unique
not
to
going be like,
whatever the
it's,
most
you know,
contributing
there's a
race is.
rectangle, kind of thing. They're going to be natural, immersive.
That is a lot of permutations.
Cities and stuff.
That's a lot of
This next
that's a
one is
lot of
kind the
artwork and
landscape.
coding
You
right
kinda see
there.
The progression as it goes from.
It will depend on the player base.
all
This
the
is
way
set.
up
This
to-
game will very much depend
this
on the
is,
player
like,
base.
Metropolis-ish.
As long as they
Depends.
get
There might be
nail the
another stage in
combat
there, but,
and the flow of
It's very
combat.
Kind of
Player
see
base
the
is going to
node
be what
3 4
decides this
is like
play.
village and
If the
town,
Twitch
node
community
4 to 5 is like
and everything
town
around
to
this game right
city,
now
and
is
then node
any
5 is
sign,
city to,
then I
province,
have pretty
kind of
decent
things
hopes
there.
for it.
Mhm. And then the next one we have here is also some Junior Brazers,
AO, what's AO?
not braziers.
Brazier.
Wow.
Brazier. I know it's like a weird words, man.
Anarchy
English.
Online.
But yeah,
Nah, I
it's
never
really
played
cool
it.
seeing like the different progression and like the style. and
Again,
how
my
fancier
MMO
things
experience
get as
is
we,
very
level up.
limited. I can count on
This
one
is
hand how
this
many
is
MMOs
really
I've
kind of a testament
actively
to not
played
just
over the
concept
years.
artists on the team and their
I've tried
great
tried a
kind of,
bunch more, but I
showing
never
off
got
these
very far
ideas,
into
but
them.
also to the environment team and just the sheer
The
realm of
fire. Look how
possibilities
good
that
the
we're going to
fire
include
looks.
in the game from not
On
just
some of
the,
these, okay, on some of these, the
architecture
fire
building
looks really
standpoint,
good.
but
On some
also
of them, it
reflected
very
in
much
the
looks like
prop
just like a
designs as well.
drawing.
So a lot of these props are going to
I mean, it still looks good,
not
mind you.
necessarily be reused. You know, you're not going to see the same brazier present in the Metropolis stage as you would in the Village stage. It's all going to be immersive and make sense visually as players see progression, because these are the central hubs of really the game. This is where pretty much every system ties into the nodes. So we want to make sure that as players are, you know, present in those nodes, that that it's not only visually aesthetic, but it also it visually makes sense as well.
Well, you
Yeah,
gotta get
it's one of
fancy,
those-
man.
It's one of those things that you know, the detail work really matters when you're trying to tell a story and trying to provide like a cohesive look to things, right? The details are really important, and so that's why we share these things. It's like, we're not just thinking about the
I
overall big
concur.
gigantic walls, but like we get down to like the real detailed stuff and think about like, what does a denier brazier look like? What does a denier cup look like? What does a denier table look like? So we're thinking about
I
all
like
these
the denier
things, you know,
architecture.
on a really micro
I was
level
already
in order to
leaning
tell
towards
the
a dwarf
story
as
and make the story make sense at a glance.
my race choice, just from a stature
And
standpoint
then the
for
next one we have
hitbox.
here are kind of like a bunch of different bookshelf options. We are, you know, putting a lot of effort into like even the smaller little pieces that you're going to see on that front as well. So these are, I believe,
And like the level
smaller
of detail that
bookshelves
they're going
version.
into, you
A
could
little
really
shorter. You
argue
can
that
see
it's
their little dwarf
unnecessary,
there next to
that it
them
won't ever
as well for
truly be
scale.
Make
appreciated,
sure the dwarves can reach those books.
Yeah, they
Yep.
have to reach the books very
that it'll often
I
be
don't know if we'll be able to get to
overlooked.
the top shelf there.
But at the same
Maybe
time,
if you get like a little
They have
step
like
ladder.
a little stool.
Yeah.
it's stuff that you just
That's my life, man.
notice in passing
Like my
that
life
really
is I
makes
always
the
have to carry
world
around
and
one of those
experience
little step
very
ladders.
immersive. Sounds good, dude.
All right. Oh, someone's like
Thank you,
Maggie
thank you.
scale. Pretty much, yeah. Or toast. We're both shorties. And
Right,
then the
but it
taller
like
bookshelf
that level of
ones,
detail, it makes you feel like you're
This one.
in
so pretty. Even like the little
the
details
game.
on,
You
like,
know, it's very
where,
immersive.
The shelves.
So from
interlock
that
with the
standpoint, like
sides of
I think
the-
people will really appreciate it, even if they don't actively recognize it. Like if someone says,
Too.
"Hey, did you see
I will
the
say, you know, one thing
intricate
that's
designs on
very
the side of that
important,
pillar? Like that was so cool."
you know,
You aren't
to
going to
me
be
when
like,
kinda
"Oh
setting
yeah,
out
yeah, you mean the
make
one
that
by the
association
library? Yeah, okay."
is not just
Um,
keeping this high level perspective of, you know, these grand systems.
We'll have to
but
see.
Making sure that at the most minute detail point, that really this project is created to a certain level of detail that is representative of the quality we want you as players to experience. And immersion's a very important factor, you know, for myself and for the team. And we want to make sure that that experience is whole, is really from the bottom to the top. You know, players are going to be immersed in this world, and a lot of that immersion really can stem from these finer details that might in other games be overlooked, but you know, all of them are part of that equation in creating an immersive experience.
Yeah, you might not notice it, but your brain does.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. That's exactly what I was saying.
Moving on to our character art. Do you want me to just go straight to the video? I
All
was
right.
gonna have it last. just
Straight
kinda
to the
like-
video.
I was gonna do it last.
Oh, we got one more
but we
video.
can go
Video.
for first if you want.
We'll
All right.
ask chat. What does chat want? Video?
Oh. I don't
This
want
is
the
this
right.
video I want to
I
see.
always like to
Oh,
end
they might-
cap
I
on,
don't
you know.
know.
Yeah, dude, the art
I'll
team
give
in
you a
this
hint, it
game
has to do with
is
turtles.
they're on point.
All
They're
right, we'll stop
very
to the
on
video,
point.
and we'll see y'all in a moment.
It's
then.
high. It's very good quality. Oh, that turtle! All right, yeah, this is what I wanted to see. This is what I wanted you guys to see with me. This thing is sick. And yes, I will spoil it now. That thing you see on the front, it is exactly what you think it is. I'll partly spoil it now. I love the galaxy. Like, it's almost like the Men in Black galaxy necklace, you know? That is so cool. I love the grunting and everything with it. Obviously, this is an isolated sound without any ambience, so it'll be kind of tuned up that way. But the animations, look at the animations. They're so good.
User was moved out of your channel.
Oh yeah, there's the TeamSpeak TeamSpeak thing. Yeah, dude, it's a fucking mount. It's so cool. Oh man. It's just so good. It's just so good. I'm so excited for this. Anyways, you guys, let me know what you guys are thinking about this right now. I'm super excited about this. What did you guys think about the active combat versus tab targeting combat? What did you think about the castle sieges? How much do you love this turtle? Let me know down in the comments below. Like the video, smash that subscribe button, and guys, I will see you all in the next one. Take care.